Hey guys, we are going to continue with sort of what we did on Monday. So we've learned that writers engage readers by establishing situations or conflicts at the beginning of their stories. After reading several more paragraphs of Nadine Gordimer's first chapter of her novel, we notice that she is utilizing more technique to develop more of the story, which helps deepen the reader's experience and further draw the reader into the action of the story. So writers also establish a narrative voice and point of view as part of the lead writing. So we'll look at those today. So as you see here, guys, we have the first or the next two paragraphs. So we did the first one on Monday, and now we're looking at paragraphs 2 and 3, mainly focusing on paragraph 2. So let's read this together. The road to the village would be blocked. The dog ran over the soft fields, breathing like a dragon. The kernel of the house was warm with oil-fired heating, and the light from the red shades, the silky colors of Olivia's things, the rugs, cherry, and satin wood pieces, and the red earth pots, bits of breadwork, the two fine carvings they once found in the Congo. A few days ago, when he was in that house, packing to leave in the flat progression of practical matters by which decision is broken up into reality. So when we see these here, right? Write a comment out here. A flashback is being used. And we know a flashback again means referring to something in the past. It shows the setting of where he used to be and how different it is. Difference of where he is now. Here, all right. So let's keep going. So again, there it's focusing on setting. If you have any trouble with the boiler, for heaven's sake, let Mackie look at it before you send to town. What a pity you gave away your shorts. There's no knowing if I'll be anywhere where I could dare appear in shorts anymore. But your waist measurement hasn't changed by so much as half an inch. I know by your pajama trousers, I use exactly the same measurement for new elastic as I always did. So looking at this last part, right, this is more, referencing previous characters, right? We don't really know who this is, but we can assume that it's somebody that he used to live with, right? And this is dialogue, as you notice how it's. You notice how it's different writing, right? It's sort of showing dialogue of who you used to live with. So dialogue here shows what his life was like before. Showing who he lived with. So we're gonna look at that. So as you see here, it's just sort of setting up how we would do this, or what Nady was doing here in this second paragraph. So now what we're going to do is we're going to, I guess we'll continue this here. This was the paragraph that Miss Webb wrote on Monday, and I'm going to kind of continue that. Okay, so we're going to do very similar to what we did up here, right, and what she was writing. I'm going to take what Miss Webb did and kind of continue that. All right, so we'll just read this to kind of, reflect on what she wrote. All right, so the sounds of the busy kitchen created a perfect symphony of sizzling, frying, bubbling, clinging, and swishing. She had been cooking nightly meals for her family for years as a mom. This night was different. In true Food Network fashion, she made a challenge to herself to cook everyone's favorite food all in one night. Her family's hungry questions, yelled from the living room, hurried her along. Perhaps her eagerness to win her own challenge, coupled with her family's pressure, may have led to the huge disaster. So we're going to kind of continue this again, looking at sort of how we would do this if you were writing it, and I'll show you all that here. So I'm going to continue. All right. So as you see here, guys, we kind of continue that, and we'll read this together. We're going to look at this is very similar to what we did Monday, but a different, chart here. This is the not yet, not yet. Well, let's see here. Make sure I'm not telling you wrong here. Yeah, so we'll look at this in a minute. All right, so let's keep going. The sounds of the busy kitchen created a perfect symphony of sizzling. Oh, that's what we already read. Sorry. The next part. So starting right here. All right. All right. So she normally always comes into the kitchen with a plan. Alex always knows immediately what will be for dinner when she comes home from practice by the sounds of popping flour hitting her ears and the glorious smell of chicken as it wafts to her nose. Timothy senses his favorite dish when he spies a marinara sauce and angel hair pasta sitting on the counter. She never imagined trying to cook each child's favorite meal all on the same night, but she was determined to make it happen. As she seemingly begins to obtain a grasp on the cooking task, she hears the door open and shut. Honey, I'm home. The mother slowly slumped her shoulders. She had forgotten her husband's late night meeting had been canceled. How are the enchiladas coming along? He asked. She quickly grabs her coat and heads for the store. So as you see here, guys, she is obviously still talking about the mother, right? When looking at the middle part, it's talking about how she again wants to make her kids' favorite meals. She realizes that it's tough. And as she's finally getting a hang of it, right, we see here, we can assume this is probably who, and it would be her husband, right, which it does tell us here, right? But again, this shows that she had forgotten that his meeting was canceled, and amidst all the craziness, she had forgotten that she had promised to make his favorite enchiladas here, right? So looking at this, right, I developed complicated story elements through key details, using them to add tension or meaning. So I think we're probably maybe in the middle here, where we did that as far as she's trying to cook all these dishes at the same time, and then it builds tension whenever it says, "Honey, I'm home." We don't know who that is. We're trying to figure out who is the person that walked in, right? Which again we see is the husband. I showed character flaws, strengths, and aspects that make them unique or worthy of being written about. I think so, right? And so we see, Lord, here that maybe a flaw would be she's trying to do too much, right? Instead of asking for help, or maybe not doing every meal, it could help her kind of lose some stress. So probably in the middle here. Use details to convey meaning or develop a lesson or theme. I think we kind of mentioned that as well, right? I think we're probably in the middle, maybe on the far right, as far as this idea of asking for help, not trying to do too much. Yeah. So again, that's kind of a good example of and with narrative, remember guys, the key is always details. We can talk about suspension and dialogue and all that, which are obviously very key, but details and not just simply telling what happens, right, is very key to having a good narrative. All right. So last time we're going to look at is another little example here. And kind of very similar to what we just did. So Sarah woke up to the sound of Julie's voice and the feel of being shaken in her twin bed. Around the corner, Fang woke up to the smell of dog food and the feel of his chain breaking. "Wake up, Sarah," Julie shouted. It was Julie's first day of kindergarten, and Sarah was taking her to school. Julie trusted Sarah to keep her safe. Sarah lay quietly reviewing her plans. Above her bed, Shaun White flipped upside down on a snowboard in a poster from the X Games. Sarah loved the way Shaun tried tricks that would terrify other kids. She loved the way he was fearless and lucky. "I wish Mom and Dad wouldn't treat me like I was a little kid," Sarah thought. There was no way in her small town to prove that right? So again, we're not doing the whole story here. This is just an excerpt. All right. So good. See the first part, right? You see here the writer got to the trouble quickly, right? The story started with immediate tension or foreshadowing. So right from the start, right, we're kind of wondering what it is, right? The fact that she woke up to the voice of being shaken, something was obviously wrong. The next part, the writer made allusions to other characters. Now remember, allusions, again, it's referencing. So referencing back to something you would have known, to other characters to compare character traits and suggest conflicts. Again, so we kind of learned a little bit about Sarah, right? A little bit about Julie as well, and sort of her Sarah's thought with her conflict with her parents, right? About how they treated her like she was too young. All right. So that is that, guys. Again, this is something to help you with writing narratives and sort of including detail and including sort of suspension and dialogue within your writing. So we're going to try this with something that you did on the heart map. So I'll explain that later. All right, guys, have a good day.